Hello and welcome back to my vlog. We're on to part 9 of Flatland, A Romance of Many Dimensions, section 6 of Recognition by Sight, part 1. I'm going to include two pictures below because they're in here. I'll tell you where. I am about to appear very inconsistent. In previous sections I have said that all figures in Flatland present the appearance of a straight line, and it was added or implied that it is consequently impossible to distinguish by the visual organ between individuals of different classes. Yet now I am about to explain to my Spaceland critics how we are able to recognize one another by the sense of sight. If, however, the reader will take the trouble to refer to the passage in which recognition by feeling is stated to be universal, he will find this qualification, quote, among the lower classes, end quote. It is only among the higher classes and in our temperate climates that sight recognition is practiced. That this power exists in any regions and for any classes is the result of fog, which prevails during the greater part of the year in all parts save the torrid zones. That which is with you in Spaceland an unmixed evil, blotting out the landscape, depressing the spirits, and enfeebling the health, is by us recognized as a blessing scarcely inferior to air itself, and as the nurse of arts and parent of sciences. But let me explain my meaning without further eulogies on this beneficent element. If fog were non-existent, all lines would appear equally and indistinguishably clear, and this is actually the case in those unhappy countries in which the atmosphere is perfectly dry and transparent. But wherever there is a rich supply of fog, objects that are at a distance, say of 3 feet, are appreciably dimmer than those at a distance of 2 feet 11 inches. And the result is that by careful and constant experimental observation of comparative dimness and clearness, we are enabled to infer with great exactness the configuration of the object observed. An instance will do more than a volume of generalities to make my meaning clear. Suppose I see 2 individuals approaching whose rank I wish to ascertain. They are, we will suppose, a merchant and a physician, or in other words, an equilateral triangle and a pentagon. How am I to distinguish them? Picture below. It will be obvious to every child in Spaceland who has touched the threshold of geometrical studies that, if I can bring my eye so that its glance may bisect an angle, A, of the approaching stranger, my view will lie, as it were, evenly between his 2 sides that are next to me, viz. CA and AB, so that I shall contemplate the 2 impartially and both will appear of the same size. Now, in the case of 1, the merchant, what shall I see? I shall see a straight line, DAE, in which the middle point, A, will be very bright because it is nearest to me, but on either side the line will shade away rapidly into dimness, because the sides AC and AB recede rapidly into the fog, and what appear to me as the merchant's extremities, viz. D and E, will be very dim indeed. On the other hand, in the case of 2, the physician, though I shall here also see a line, DAE, with a bright center, A, yet it will shade away less rapidly into dimness because the sides, AC, AB, recede less rapidly into the fog, and what appear to me the physician's extremities, viz. D and E, will not be not so dim as the extremities of the merchant. The reader will probably understand from these 2 instances how, after a very long training supplemented by constant experience, it is possible for the well-educated classes among us to discriminate with fair accuracy between the middle and lowest orders by the sense of sight. If my Spaceland patrons have grasped this general conception so far as to conceive the possibility of it, and not to reject my account as altogether incredible, I shall have attained all I can reasonably expect. Were I to attempt further details, I should only perplex. Yet for the sake of the young and inexperienced, who may perchance infer, from the 2 simple instances I have given above, of the manner in which I should recognize my father and my sons, that recognition by sight is an easy affair, it may be needful to point out that in actual life most of the problems of sight recognition are far more subtle and complex. If, for example, when my father, the triangle, approaches me, he happens to present his side to me instead of his angle, then, until I have asked him to rotate, or until I have edged my eye round him, I am for the moment doubtful whether he may not be a straight line, or, in other words, a woman. Again, when I am in the company of one of my two hexagonal grandsons, contemplating one of his sides, AB, full front, it will be evident from the accompanying diagram that I shall see one whole line, AB, in comparative brightness, shading off hardly at all at the ends, and two smaller lines, CA and BD, dim throughout and shading away into greater dimness towards the extremities, C and D. Picture below. And that's the end of part 1 of section 6 of recognition by sight. Part 2 and the conclusion of section 6 tomorrow. Make it a great day, and bye for now.